So earlier in the programme, the plans to frack in Nottinghamshire moving a step closer. As you heard, there's a planning application that's been put forward to the County Council by the company Island Gas Limited, or iGas. They want to drill across 4 locations near Misson in Bassetlaw and install 12 monitoring boreholes, and this is to basically test the water, literally. Jane Watson, though, is a resident there and an anti-fracking campaigner. Hello, Jane.
Hello there.
And what are your concerns here? Because what we heard earlier on is that they're just going to monitor the quality of groundwater in the area over the next 12 months.
Well, that's right. That's a condition of their planning application. They have to prove that they have done baseline monitoring of the groundwater in the local area. Otherwise, they will not get planning permission for any subsequent application that they put in. So, the planning application in isolation seems quite sort of simple and straightforward, but we have to look at this in the long term, that this is actually a precursor to the next stage, which will be an exploratory well that will be drilled, in fact 2 wells that they're planning to drill up at Misson Springs. That will be analysed, and subsequently in the future we may be faced with actually having high-volume hydraulic fracturing on our doorstep, and that is very concerning to us in the community at the moment.
Don't you get lots of money if that happens? Wasn't there a scheme from the government that you would share the profit?
Absolutely. There are plans there that say that, coming from UCOG in particular, that communities will get £100,000 for a fracked well and £20,000 for any lateral well that is drilled, which, it sounds quite a lot of money for a small community, but the government have yet to define what they mean by a community, and they're very, very reticent to do so. So if it's a small area that we're talking about, it could be a significant amount of money, but it could be a huge area. And we also have to remember that this is still a voluntary scheme. It is not a statutory expectation that the oil and gas production people have to give us this money.
And so what is your objection? Why do you protest against what is potentially a greener... It's not a particularly green energy because it still involves producing methane and burning the methane, I think, but...
It's being purported as a bridging gas. That we're not going to be getting into any kind of production levels for quite some time in the UK, particularly at the moment. It's progressing very slowly. Methane is a highly potent greenhouse gas. It's far more potent as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide is. And it can
But once it's burned, presumably it breaks down into carbon dioxide and water,
you'll still have carbon dioxide. Yes, I agree with that. But the problem is the level of leakage that you will get from wells that are drilled. And it's been proved, and these are oil industry figures, that show that 6% of wells will leak on completion of drilling, and subsequently over time, all wells will eventually leak. That concrete seal around the steel annulus will break down. I don't know of any concrete that will not crumble and decay over time. So,
and that's an issue which would, without overstating the case, affect the whole world. I mean, that methane will go into the atmosphere and contribute to the level of greenhouse gases. Is there anything about the specific area to you, where you are, Jane, that you're worried about as well?
Well, specifically in this area, yes, we are a quiet rural community. It's very pretty here. We're a small community surrounded by prime agricultural land. Much of it is organic. We are looking at being faced with high levels of traffic, HGVs coming in and out during the fracking process. That in itself is going to bring pollution issues with air pollution. We're looking at other issues with soil contamination, and just generally the air quality. There's been a lot of information about potential groundwater contamination, which I'm sure everybody's read about.
But then that's the point of this exploratory work that's going on now, is that they find out what the water is like, and then if there is any pollution, presumably they would be shut down.
Well, will they? Presumably. This is a thing about the regulatory process at the moment, which is supposed to protect us, and they say regulation will make this safe. Now, they've got regulations in the USA, and it hasn't made it safe over there. And you look at the evidence that's coming out of there with the pollution incidents, and particularly the health impacts that are now being reported. We've had two very good peer-reviewed reports have come out quite recently. One was from MedAct in the UK, which is a body of particularly public health doctors who have said that there is a significant risk to public health from the fracking itself. And you've got the Concerned Health Professionals of New York, which brought out a huge document which correlated all of the health, the negative health impacts around northern USA, which were enormous and significant. And as a result, New York State said, we're banning this. We don't want it.
Just to get very hypothetical about this, if we rewind, what was it, 350 years, just before the Industrial Revolution, had the world been as connected as it is now and as joined up in its thinking and as knowledgeable about the impact of things, can you imagine a discussion about developing coal mines? If people had known that it was going to lead to the deaths of thousands of miners, there would be roads and houses crumbling and cracking in the next 200 years. There would be a lake at Rufford Park emptying completely because it goes into the mine underneath. And it's going to pump into the atmosphere a gas which many will claim is causing the planet's climate to change. There would have been no coal mining. There would have been no industrial revolution.
Well, there wouldn't, but are we using this as an argument to say that it's okay to go ahead and frack and develop a new fossil fuel industry in the UK when, 80% of these fossil fuels should be left in the ground to allow us to hit our climate change targets? We've had a big news item yesterday from Obama with his initiatives on climate change, yet only last week we had our own government that are just cutting all of the green subsidies and pulling the rug out from all of these businesses that are trying to develop clean, renewable sources of energy, and that really is the way forward. Many of the anti-fracking people that you will talk to will say, yes, we're anti-fracking, but we can't be anti-everything, so we need to be putting money into renewable energy. We could be a world leader if we put money into this, into development and research, into the universities. We could be a world leader on this, but yet we have a government that is insisting on pushing forward this fossil fuel shale gas agenda, and it's madness.
Jane Watson, a resident in the Misson area near Bassetlaw, thank you very much indeed for your time this evening.